unity
and reconciliation.
Nothing can stop peace.
Peace is answer.
Liberian people,
We are one people,
one people,
one destiny,
one destiny.
one vision.
We are all
Liberians.
Our Father,
Who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
thy kingdom come.
This is Monrovia, capital city of the West African country of Liberia. With a population of around 5 million, it is home to over 16 indigenous tribes which make up 95% of its population. Today the government and people of Liberia are in high spirits and there is great celebration across the land. Top dignitaries from Africa and the rest of the world arrive in Monrovia to witness this historic event. The destruction of arms and the return of peace to the country after over 7 years of a bloody civil war.
You of course want me to say something to you? Huh? Or you just want to take photo? You just take photo, then later on we'll have a... By the time we get back...
Today a democratically elected president has emerged from the people. But this was not always the case. Only a few years ago, this man who also happens to be the president was the leader of the dreaded rebel group, the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, NPFL. But we'll get to him much later. Liberia is Africa's oldest republic, and roots of the Civil War date far back to its history. After the slave revolts of 1800, it was evident that the trade was under threat by the growing number of freed slaves. The idea of sending freed slaves to Africa was promoted by two groups. On one hand, the anti-slavery campaigners, who argued that slavery was against the principles expressed in the U.S. Constitution, and that people of color should be sent away to an environment where they would enjoy full liberties. On the other hand, the American Colonization Society, who adopted the argument that colonizing free blacks would protect slavery in the United States, and promote Christianity and civilization in Africa. With that in agreement, a two-man team was dispatched to the West African coast with the sole aim of finding a suitable home for the freed slaves. By 1824, a new colony named Liberia had been established, and its capital called Monrovia, after the American President James Monroe. The flag was also derived from the American flag. This new colony had two groups of people, the freed slaves called the Americo-Liberians and the 16 other indigenous tribes. Even though the Americo-Liberians accounted for only about 5% of the population, they controlled nearly 60% of the country's wealth, and they did this by creating a social hierarchy, similar to what they had experienced in the United States. The Americo-Liberian elite failed to integrate socially, maintaining themselves separately in politics. They formed the ruling True Whig Party and it produced all the Liberian presidents from the inception until their overthrow in 1980. In an ironic twist of fate, the freed slaves who were once oppressed had now become the oppressors. The 133-year rule of the Americo-Liberian oligarchy created deep-seated resentment and divisions within the society, and left historical scars on the oppressed indigenous population. By 1975, Liberia was experiencing a severe economic crisis, when international prices for its two main exports, rubber and iron ore, dropped. The country found it very hard to meet its food needs. By 1979, the country was importing 25% of its rice needs despite growing the grain domestically. Wages rarely exceeded 50 cents per day for the ordinary Liberian and foreign debt had quadrupled. In the midst of this economic crisis, President William Talbot decided to host the Organization of African Unity Summit in June 1979, spending an estimated $200 million on a new hotel and conference center, the Hotel Africa. But the straw that broke the camel's back came in April, after Talbot proposed a 50% increase per bag of rice, the mainstay of the national diet. A mass protest erupted and quickly escalated into the violent rice riots of April 1979. The indigenous population had been pushed to the wall, and that would spark off a series of events. Strong opposition and pressure groups were formed and nationwide strikes were declared. But the final blow to the Americo-Liberian oligarchy would come from an unexpected quarter. In the early hours of April 12, 1980, 28-year-old Master Sergeant Samuel Canyon Doe, a member of the indigenous Crown tribe, stormed the executive mansion with soldiers and assassinated President William Tolbert, along with 6 other occupants, before announcing the coup over the radio. This marked the end of the Americo-Liberian 100-year reign. It was a new dawn in Liberia, and Samuel Doe was the new sheriff in town.